This is the color app routine to initialize colors, XY positions, patterns, size, and transparent. It is subprogram 8, tab 3. It first sets the color for the canvases 1, 990 yellow, canvas 2, 900 red, canvas 3, 60 green, canvas 4, 8, it's blue. Then it's going to build XY positions where it's going to position the blobs for each canvas. It's going to go around the loop for I equals 0 to I 799 one at a time. That is, it's going to go around 800 times and build random XY positions for canvas 2, canvas 3, and canvas 4 for where it's going to place the blobs. This first peck action is going to get a value between 0 and mg, which is 700. So a value between 0 and 700, and then it's going to set the first X value for canvas 2 as 300 more than that value. So it's going to go from 300 to 1,000. That'll be the X value. Then it's going to do a peck action to get the Y value. And G is the limit. So there it's going to go from 0 to 400. And it's going to put that value then, V, as the value for the Y position. I is going to change from 0 to 799, producing 800 of these positions. Well, it does the same thing for the third canvas, but it puts the values 1,000 higher in position from the beginning of the value list. They will not go on top of the values made here because they only went to 800. Same thing with when it does the XY values for the fourth canvas. It adds 2,000. So it won't go over top of those for canvas 2 or canvas 3. Also, we must note that the seed used for the picking of the random values, the seed is different for each one of the picks. Therefore, they will not be using the same random values. Each one will have the use of a separate group of random numbers. They won't be the same. Then, when it's done with the loop, 800 of them are produced for the X and Y positions for the second canvas, third canvas, and the fourth canvas. But next it says it's going to take the beginning of each of the list and put it at the end of the list at 800, both for the X list and the Y list. This loop's going to go around 3 times, once for each of the canvases, 2, 3, and 4, and put the beginning of it at the end of it, so that when it gets to position 800, it still can continue forward without having to loop back to the beginning of the list. I up the instruction list so I can go to the next loop. Here it's going to build a list of the 100 blob patterns that it needs. It's going to set the value of J to 0, and then it's going to go around this loop for I equals 0 to I equals 99. That's 100 times. And each time it goes around, it's going to build another pattern from the given patterns and place it in this list called pattern, J will change by 100 each time. So there'll be 100 patterns, 100 values apart. 100 is 10,000, and the pattern list is a work list, and all work lists are 10,000 values long. Each time it goes around, it's going to put a different pattern. These are given pattern numbers. The blobs start at given pattern number 130. Then it's going to use K value, which is set to I, but then it's going to mod it with 50 because it only wants to use the first 50 blobs. So after K is modified for 50, it'll go back to being 0 to 49 again. So when here it's going to go get the given blob, it's going to be 130 to 179. Those are all blobs. And it puts it into the pattern. So there's going to be 100 patterns of blobs in the pattern list. Now it's going to build the size list and transparency list for 50 values. That's the number of blobs it's going to make each time. Here is the loop for I of 0 to the next I 49 one at a time, which means it's going to go around 50 times. Well, here it sets S, the size, to 54. And when it goes around the loop the first time, it'll set size at all set I with 54. But right below there, it subtracts 1 from S, so the next time it'll be 53. And the last time it goes around the loop, S will become 4. Well, that's the size list it's going to use. The other is the transparency list. Well, up here it sets A to 8. Well, a value of 8 in transparency will be the last one before it becomes invisible. 9 would be complete transparency, therefore invisible. 8, there's going to be a little bit of its color on the screen. So it starts at 8. Then it calculates 1/50th of that by setting B to 8 and then dividing it by 50. And if we look at our loop here, we see at the end of the loop it always subtracts B from A. So as it goes around the loop, A is going to start at 8, and by the time it gets to the 50th time, it's going to be 0. Well, also, when it goes around the loop, transparency is an even digit. It cannot be a fraction. And up here it shows you that when it divided the 50 into B, it said with a fractional part. However, we can't have transparency with a fractional part, so it sets T to A and then rounds it to the nearest integer. And then it has to multiply the T by 1,000 because transparency is the 4th digit out. The ones after it are for red, green, and blue. It's the transparency one, so it has to be multiplied by 1,000. And then that's the value that gets put in the transparent list, all the 50 possible transparencies. So it's saying here, as the size changes, so does the transparency. Well, that's the end of the initialization for the Color app.